Hello everyone, this is Jahan from Do Develop, and today I'm going to try and answer the number one question that I've received on my Instagram page recently, and that's, how do I scan my film? So in this video I'm going to be talking about the basics of what you need to scan 35mm or medium format film, and I'll give you an overview of what my workflow looks like. So I really hope this video is going to answer most of your questions, but if it doesn't, feel free to drop me a comment or write me a message on my Instagram page and I'll get back to you as soon as possible. So let's not waste any more time and get straight into it. Now, the scanner that I use is an Epson V800, and the software that I use with it is either EPSON Scan or SilverFast. EPSON Scan is the standard software that comes with every Epson scanner, I assume. And it works great if you're just scanning black and white negatives, but you're going to have some trouble if you want to scan color negatives. If you want to scan color negatives, I would highly recommend you use SilverFast. SilverFast has a great feature that's called Negafix, and basically what it is, it's built-in color profiles that will give you accurate results. So for example, if you're scanning Portrait 160, that just means you'll have to select the according profile and you'll get exactly what the film is supposed to look like. So I don't want to mention too much about the technical details of my scanner, like what the maximum resolution could be, the maximum DPI and things like that. So please just bear with me on the technical stuff. I'm really trying to showcase more of what my workflow is going to look like and how to get good scans. So the next step right now is going to be preparing our negatives for the scanning process. So before you start scanning your negatives, there are a few things that you should use or that are at least highly recommended to use. And I think the most important thing is gloves. Gloves are going to protect your negatives and are going to make your scanning process a lot easier, especially if you have dirty hands, there's dust, things like that involved, so you just want to make sure you keep a very clean environment. The next thing that's really helpful is one of these dust blowers, and they just help to keep the scanning surface clean, and they'll be able to clean your negatives, at least wipe off most of the dirt. Now, if your negatives aren't perfectly clean from your development process, like if they have water stains or anything like that, you can always use a bit of rubbing alcohol and something like a Q-tip, and that will get off any excess watermarks and stuff like that, but always only use very small amounts of alcohol. So most scanners, or at least every film scanner, comes with these film holders. Now these film holders usually work quite good in the sense that they will keep the film just in place, and usually you'll get quite sharp images out of it. Sometimes they don't work that well. I've heard people that don't have that great results with them, but I've always been lucky, so I don't know if it's just my scanners or if there's something different that I do. Now, these scan holders come in negative holders, come in different sizes. You have the medium format one, you have a 35mm, there's a 4x5 as well, so it really just depends what scanner you buy usually. So before we even turn on the scanner, the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to insert our negatives into the film holder. Now, there's usually always an instruction here, but usually it works like this, that the emulsion side is at the bottom and the non-emulsion side is on the top. So what I'll do is I'll just quickly use the duster, just blow over once, and then carefully put the negative inside. And this I'll repeat with all the others. Okay, and now I'm ready to scan this batch. Okay, so we have our negatives inserted in our film holder, and then we're just going to place them in the scanner. So I'm just going to use this one more time, just blow over there, put that in here, and then just go over there one more time. You can never get enough of this because dust is literally your worst enemy when you're scanning with a flatbed scanner. Okay, and now we're going to get into scanning. Okay, so the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to scan some black and white negative film using Epson Scan. So I'm just going to start the program, and straight away we have this kind of home screen here where we can select a few things. Now, the mode that I always use is the professional mode because, for example, full auto mode gives you very little control, home mode just a bit less, so professional mode is the one you want to go for. Now I'm scanning black and white film, so I'm going to choose negative film, black and white, and I'm going to use film holder, and that's what's inside my scanner right now. Then when you're scanning black and white, you go to 16-bit grayscale. Color, you can go up to 48, but 16 is usually what you need if you're doing black and white. Now, the resolution, you can really play around with this. It really depends on your scanner. I don't see the point in going above 4800, especially if it's just for Instagram or, you know, maybe even a smaller size print. I mean, I've printed pictures in around 50 by 60 centimeters and I scanned them with 3200 and they turned out perfectly sharp. So it's really not necessary. You're just going to get huge files if you're doing something like 12,800. And usually the scanner will struggle to get optimum sharpness, so best stay away from that. Now, the adjustments, there's plenty you can select here, but I would really recommend just to stick with one thing, and that's the unsharp mask, because that's the scanner. I feel like there's a small chance the scanner will know exactly how much distance there is between the negative and the actual scanning surface. So it does help a bit to keep the images sharp, but the other ones I just really wouldn't touch, especially dust removal. You can use the low setting or maximum the medium setting, but the high one is really not recommended because sometimes the scanner will assume that, I don't know, a small line, for example, is a speck of dust, and then you'll get random things kind of edited out in your scan, and the same goes for digital ISO. Just stay away from all of those. So the first thing we're going to do now is just going to preview. Okay, so now that we have our preview scan ready, the first thing the program usually does is it generates these automatic thumbnails. And if you really just want to scan something quickly and you have very, very clear negatives in the sense of the border on the negative between the actual frame and the sprockets is extremely clear, then usually you're going to get accurate results. But if you have, for example, a very dark frame, the scanner usually can't always find where the frame begins or where the frame ends. So you might not get the full frame count, or you'll get chopped frames. So to avoid that, what I do is, it's a bit of the longer route, but if you go to the normal view, what you get is the actual film holder, what it looks like in the scanner. And then what you can do, if you want it a bit larger, usually I just rotate this once, and then you get the frames here. Now, to scan a frame, what you have to do is you have to go over with the cursor, and then you can select the area that you want to scan, and then instantly you'll see the scanner will make the program will make an automatic adjustment for what it thinks the way the negative should look like. Now, if I want to make this a bit more accurate, I could zoom in, and then it'll just give me the entire frame, and I can actually adjust this centimeter, millimeter by millimeter the way it's supposed to be. But for this demonstration, I'm just going to stick to this view right now. So what I'd have to do is, if I would want to scan everything, I could take this frame, and then I could just copy it and move it along, and then I have these two, and I could just keep doing that for every frame. And then usually if you want to be very accurate, you could do this in the zoom view. I usually just did this in here. But for this demonstration, I'm just going to use one frame, so I'm going to use this one right here. And now I'm ready to scan this, so I'm going to go on scan, and it's going to prompt me this window, and it's going to ask me where I want to save it, so I'll just choose the Epson folder right here. And the important thing is, when you save this, you save it as a TIFF, because that's the only way you can really edit it. I mean, unless you really don't want to edit the scans, you can use JPEG, but apart from that, I would definitely use the TIFF format, because if you open it with Photoshop or Lightroom, then this is basically like having something like a raw file, and you can really do a lot of editing on the actual file. So I'm just going to press OK, and then the scanner is going to start scanning. Okay, so now that the scanner is finished scanning, it has opened the file, and I can have a look at the image that I've scanned. And as you can see, I didn't use any dust correction, and there are a few specks of dust. There's something here, and these are things that I can edit away then if I open the Photoshop or the Lightroom, and I could show you what kind of post-processing I would do then. Okay, and now that we have scanned the first image using Epson Scan, I'm going to do the same thing again using SilverFast, and then we can compare the results. So I'm just going to quit this and start up SilverFast. Okay, and now straight away you can see there's a completely different layout. Things are quite complicated at first, but once you get used to using this program, it's actually quite simple. Epson Scan is extremely basic and it works very well, but sometimes I would prefer this. So basically what you do is you start out here, you have your workflow, and what you do is you choose transparency because that's what we're going for. Then we want to do black and white as well. And then this starts right at the beginning, so we want to actually select where we want to scan at the beginning, and we'll choose SilverFast, and then we'll choose our settings. Now we can go anywhere between the lowest to the maximum, and you can see that SilverFast actually incorporates where your optimum sharpness would be, your optimum resolution for your scanner. So as you can see, this is already something that's going to really cause you trouble if you're having such a big scan. Now obviously don't be confused by this now, because I have a very large frame selected, so this isn't actually accurate yet, but this is usually where you would change this. So the first thing that I have to do is I'd have to make a pre-scan. So now that the pre-scan is ready, you can see that there's only one frame selected, and it's actually this really large frame here. So in order to do that, in order to scan the frame that I scanned the last time, what I have to do is I have to click on the frame, and then I can either find frames, or I could do it myself by moving this around. But usually what you would do is, if you want to scan all of them, you would go here, you would go find frames, and then you choose the film strip 35mm. And then what the program does quite cleverly, it will find all the frames, but because it's a program and it's not perfect, it won't do it properly. So in the end, you're going to have to adjust it as well. Now, one of the tricky things with SilverFast is that if I have settings in this frame, for example, and I can change something, for example, I'm going to change the exposure, make this one brighter, this won't automatically apply to the next frame. So if I have this one selected and then I jump back on this, you can see the value has changed. So with SilverFast, what you have to do is, if you want to have the same settings for all the frames, including the resolution and where it gets saved, you have to have one frame selected, and usually you do this with the first frame, and then you select everything, and then what you do is you go on frames, and then you can go copy settings to all frames, so automatically these settings will apply to all the other frames. So right now I'm just going to delete all these frames because I'm not going to scan all of them, so I'll go back on frames and delete all. And then usually what happens is that there's only one large frame selected, so I'm going to make this one small and scan the same image like I did with Epson Scan. Now as you can see, the program has automatically jumped to 48-bit, and that means I'm going to go back to 16-bit, and the location has changed again, because when you delete the frames, the settings get deleted as well, so it's a bit tedious at times. So I'll do everything right from the start again. I'll choose SilverFast. I'm gonna scan with the same resolution that I did with the other one. Yet now I have this thing called megafix, and this is something that you can use especially well with color film. With black and white, I don't always see how much difference it makes because there are much less variables that you play with, but I'll try it out anyways. So this film was Kodak Tri-X, and it was shot at 400. And then again, these things I just don't touch. Color cast removal, better to stay away from that. Everything that you want to change is better to do post-processing. Now I have this frame selected and I have the correct folder selected, and it's going to scan as a TIFF. So I'm basically ready to scan, and then what I do is scan. Okay, so now that the image is finished, I can go to the SilverFast folder, and here's my image. Now, if I open this, I can open the Epson one as well, and then you'll have a contrast of the two images. Now, the one on the left is the SilverFast scan, and the one on the right is the Epson scan. And they have the same resolution, and the sharpness seems a bit better on the Epson scan, and on the SilverFast it's just generally a lot darker. That's why when I scan black and white, usually I prefer the Epson scan because it gives you a more usable file. Now obviously these are still things that I can edit in Photoshop or Lightroom. Okay, so now we're going to scan some color film. So I'll go into Epson Scan and we'll do Epson Scan first. And just to change things up a bit, I'm going to do medium format now. So the settings are already set, so I have color negative and 48-bit color. And I'm going to keep the resolution approximately the same size. And then let's just preview this. Okay, so the scanner is already finished previewing and already automatically made these thumbnails, and you can see the colors already look off. So good tip with this is definitely you go to the normal view, and then I'll just rotate this, and then I'll just select the first frame right here. Okay, so the colors already look much better if I have the single selection like this. And when you scan color film, the biggest problem is getting an accurate color reading from the negative. And there's a lot of things that you can do in here. I mean, you could do the color restoration, but I know for a fact that this is not what the film is supposed to look like and not what the actual scenery was. So the color restoration is already off here. And if I play around with these values, like I said, there's so much that you can edit in the actual program. There's so much that can go wrong, so much you can do, that I just prefer to stick away from this. The best thing is just to leave things as they are and then make slight adjustments in post-processing. But I'll show you what the scan will look like compared to the scan that SilverFast will make. So let's just scan this right here. Okay, so the scan is complete and scanned it twice. This is what it looks like, and I'll go right into SilverFast now and I'll show you the compare. Okay, so let's start up SilverFast again. Okay, so this was already selected, and as you can see, the colors already straight away look different. Now, the good thing with SilverFast is that we have this feature here, Negafix, and as you can see, if I select the right film, so that would be Kodak Portra 160, the scanner already has these built-in settings that will tell it exactly what kind of color tone to set, and the image is just a lot more accurate. So I don't want to get into all these other things that I didn't mention before. Most of the things that you can do here, you can also do in Epson Scan, things like dust removal or unsharp masking and things like that. But like I said, I prefer to stay away from that. So most of my dust removal and things like that really just happen in post-process in Lightroom or Photoshop. So now that we have all of the set, I'm just gonna press scan and then we'll see how they compare. Okay, so now that the SilverFast has finished scanning, just check it out, it's saving. Let me just close this. And here we have the SilverFast scan. So if I bring out these two, you can see that there's a lot more turquoise and the red is much stronger. And of course, these might not be extreme details, and maybe this is something that doesn't really bother you, but it's something that I'd like to do because I know I shoot film for the reason that I want to shoot film, so it makes no sense to me to shoot something that I'd anyway completely change afterwards, so then I might as well just be shooting digital and just have presets or whatever. So right now the SilverFast is the more accurate version, and you can see here that Epson Scan kind of went more for a more low contrast, and we have here higher contrast. There's a lot more dark areas, the blacks are much stronger. The colors in the Epson Scan are kind of very faint and not as strong. So these are really things that you have when you scan with SilverFast, and that's the real benefit. Now, obviously, these presets that we have in SilverFast, they don't work for every single film. Sometimes they work better, sometimes they don't. So it's really just a matter of what kind of optimization the program has. So I think Portra is something that works quite well. Ektar is something that works very well as well. And these are just things that can really give you a lot of more inspiration when you work, because there's nothing more annoying than having scans that don't turn out right. So I'll just bring up the black and whites again and the color, and then you can see the contrast between these two. So we have the colors. This is the right one is the SilverFast, the left is the Epson Scan, and then one more time the SilverFast, which in the black and white, in my opinion, performed a bit worse than the Epson Scan. And yeah, this is basically my workflow, how I would edit things. Now, the next step to this would be opening Lightroom or Photoshop and doing some post-processing work. But usually the most work that I would just do in there is the correction of all the dust and making sure that the contrast is right, and maybe adding a bit more sharpness here and there. But there isn't anything else that I would really do to change much of the look of the film, because in my opinion that's kind of cheating. So I prefer to stick to the most original outcome and really focus on using the right developer and the right kind of temperature and developing time, things like that, pushing film, pulling film to get the look that I really want to achieve. So these are a few things that I really watch out for. So I just wanted to say thank you for watching, and like I said, if you have any more questions or concerns or anything about your scanning process, just feel free to drop me a comment or write me a message on my Instagram. So thanks again for watching and take care. Bye.